Hello. I am Brandon. I consider myself a mid-tier hardcore Nuzlocker, mostly because I'm good at hardcore Nuzlocking most of the mainstream Pokemon games, but not really all of them. I haven't beaten Black 2 as of recording this video, and I'm thinking, hey, maybe I can just get some reaction content instead. So, yeah, today we're gonna be watching Rising Feathers play Crystal. So, yeah, um, full disclosure, I will say I have watched some of this video, and yeah, there is a certain point where I stopped reacting. So because I was like, man, maybe I should record this for a video. So I decided, let's just do that. And if you want to watch the original video, the link of the original video is obviously in the description below, because this is not my content. So yeah. Alright, let's watch some hardcore Nuzlocks.
Hello, this is RisingFeathers, and today I'm going to tell you all about the Nuzlocke I did in Pokemon Crystal. For those who are unaware, this is actually my second Nuzlocke. My first was done in Pokemon Yellow, and I suggest starting there first. It wasn't all smooth sailing, but for my first go at it, it went pretty well, I think. But what makes this one different are some changes to the rules. This is what I followed last time, the bare minimum for what can be considered a Nuzlocke. But this time I went for a hardcore Nuzlocke, since I think I've got a handle on how all this works now.
Cool.
I used the set battle style and can no longer use items in battle. Only hold items are allowed. Plus, there is no level cap on my team. My Pokemon cannot surpass the upcoming gym leader's highest level Pokemon. Leveling higher during the gym battle is okay, but if a Pokemon goes beyond that cap before the battle, it can no longer participate in battle until it's at or under a higher level cap. I also made the change that static encounters, including in-game trades and gifts, are fine to take and use, even if it's not my first encounter in that area.
Okay, alright. I can deal with that. I know a lot of players typically play with that rule set. When I do hardcore Nuzlocks, I personally don't, just because I don't think it's kind of fair to have more than one encounter in one specific area. So I'd say, yeah, this is fine. This is fine for now. And obviously battle style being on set, super important for hardcore Nuzlocke. I just personal suggestion, I'm starting to think maybe just having the set battle style by default on any Nuzlocke, whether it's hardcore or not, should just be the default, in my opinion. You can play however you want, but that's just how you would usually play it.
I haven't been to Johto in over 10 years, and I've never played Crystal before. What?
That is probably a good reason to actually be on Switch. Never mind, I take that back.
Break it out. Unlike Pokemon Yellow, you normally get a choice in what Pokemon you take. Gen 2 gives us the choice of Totodile, Cyndaquil, and Chikorita. But in the spirit of the challenge, I let a dice roll determine what I chose. Ideally, I want to take a Cyndaquil or a Totodile, because in general, Chikorita is the hardest to work with, despite it always being my pick as a kid. Hey, wouldn't you know it, I get Chikorita. Some bonds never die, I guess.
Yeah, I will say, Chikorita, easily the worst starter of this entire run. Mostly because, it's a very shitty grass type, yeah, the other two starters infinitely better, but Cyndaquil is probably the best option because fire types are rare, from what I know. And actually, now that I think about it, there's really not many fire types that you can get. People talk about Diamond Pearl being sparse on fire types, but I'm starting to think about it right now. Gen 2 really doesn't have that many fire types, huh? I mean, there's Growlithe, there's Slugma. It's super sparse is all I know.
I named him Subway and started my adventure. Back in my Yellow video, I made a point of sharing every name of every Pokemon I caught, but this time for the sake of brevity, I'm going to be a bit more selective. If you'd all rather I go back to mentioning every catch for next time, leave me a comment to let me know. For our first rival fight, Subway was up against the Cyndaquil he had stolen from Professor Elm.
Yep.
Unlike Gen 1 where you fight your rival right away, this time you're able to walk around a bit and level beforehand. Being at level 7 and holding a berry, Subway won the fight fairly easily.
Nice.
I decided to train a bit in Sprout Tower, but it actually goes a bit...
Wouldn't it be I feel like it'd be more ideal for you to remove the berry off of the starter, in all honesty. Mostly because Like held items are super important, berries are super common, and yeah, I'd say like just like saving the berry would be super helpful. Also, it looks like you already have one death. Um, here, hang on. It looks like you already have one death. So I don't know what happened before. So let's see.
But too well. Subway actually hits level 10, and in accordance with the new rules, he's past Faulkner's level cap of 9, and can no longer participate in the party until after I get the first badge.
That's an issue. That is a big issue, mostly because from what I know, the Pokemon Crystal Faulkner fight is going to be just GSC Faulkner is super restricting in the level cap. It's level 9, which I think is the lowest any like gym leader has gone down to. And that's super restricting considering you have only a Ladybug and a Zubat right now. So, yeah, that's very big unfortunate.
I must have misremembered his Pokemon. Actually, as you will see, this is not the only thing about Faulkner I've forgotten. Regardless, Subway heads to the PC for now, and I catch a Bellsprout on Route 36. Exactly what I was hoping for. Why? Because in Violet City, there is a man who will trade you an Onix for one. Now, normally I wouldn't go for this. Onix has never been a good Pokemon, but perhaps this would give me an edge against Faulkner's flying types. I grind Rocky to level 9 and challenge Faulkner. Some of you might have already guessed what else about
That's
Faulkner
pretty cool.
I'd forgotten about as soon as I said my strategy was to use an Onix. For everyone else, let me explain. Faulkner has a Pidgey and a Game Shark Pidgeotto, who both know Mud Slap, a ground move that they can only learn by TM. Despite being super effective, Mud Slaps from Faulkner's Pidgey don't do a whole lot of damage, but the drops in accuracy from them drag out the battle so long that Rocky ends up using the berry he was holding. Pidgey goes down and Rocky levels up, but my hopes aren't high. As Pidgeotto comes into the fight, I switch to White Castle the Ladybug to reset Rocky's drops in accuracy. White Castle died right away.
I think you were dead to non-crit there too, in all honesty. I think you were just dead to like Pidgeotto, like if you just did that regardless with Ladybug. Anyways, rest in peace Ladybug. And also, side note, I personal gripe with Crystal and GSC in particular. It's just like, why does Faulkner give you a ground type TM when he's a flying type user? I don't know, but oh well. Rest in peace to the Ladybug.
To a crit gust, but no big loss since I wasn't really going to use it anyway. A Rocket comes back into the fight. It's like the fight with Pidgey, but worse. At low health, I reset my accuracy again by switching it to my only other Pokemon, Culver's the Zubat. He's immune to Mud Slap, and I try to use Supersonic, but it fails, and he goes down to 2 gusts. Rocky's back in again, and we last a while, but he goes down being only one more attack away from winning. If only he could have missed one less time. With my only living Pokemon overleveled, I no longer have any usable Pokemon, and that's attempt number 1. I learned a lot from this. Let's try again.
Okay. Attempt 1. Let's see. I'm assuming you tried to catch, like, because there's, like, a myriad of encounters that you can get. I think at most you get, like, 4 encounters. Excluding the Chikorita. Because there's the route outside New Bark, there's the route outside Cherry Grove, there's a route before Violet City, there's also a route, like, that you can actually take before you go to challenge Violet City. There's also Unknown in the Ruins of Elf, which is kind of useless, obviously, but it's useful for a sack. And then there's also Sprout Tower. Which, now that I think about it, you have a ton of encounters. So I would have suggested like just going to all of the areas where you could have possibly gotten an encounter. You never know. The Unknown could have had like a hidden power with like a super effective typing, but oh well.
Attempt number 2. This time I rolled a Cyndaquil, but he fainted to the rival fight. I used Smokescreen on my first turn to try to give me an edge, but I don't think Totodile missed a singlet.
Minor detail that I really like. I really like the background music being like, how do I describe it? It's like sort of reverby, as if you were playing it in like some sort of like room. I don't know. I really like the detail. I really like how the music is playing in this. So.
Attack. And with Totodile scratches doing more damage than Cyndaquil's tackles, despite the level gap, he was able to outdamage me even through a berry. Some of my chat said that Nuzlocke don't technically start until you are handed Pokeballs, but I decided to still count it. If the fight was a scripted loss, then that would make sense, but since you win the first rival fight more times than not in general, it seemed fair to count it. Leave me a comment about when you think a Nuzlocke begins.
I mean, I don't feel like leaving a comment, but you know what? I'll do it after I'm done reacting to this video, just for algorithm and stuff. But basically, the way I think about when Nuzlocke start, typically I think it's just when you get like your first Pokemon. Like, I don't think Pokeballs really matter. Obviously, I think in like a regular Nuzlocke, I think you would go with this rule set, that like your Nuzlocke doesn't start until you get Pokeballs. But I feel like in hardcore Nuzlocks, you obviously have to like alter the rules like slightly differently, and I think it's to make it as hard but also as fun as possible. So yeah, and that's like another thing, like the aim of like playing Nuzlocks and like how you play it is just like what's the most optimal way to have fun, you know? Like, so for example, typically like most hardcore Nuzlockers will just count their static encounter as the encounter in the route. But as you see here, you have Rising Feathers going for the optimal strategy of like just allowing like static encounters like more than once in like one particular area. So yeah, that's fine. It's whatever.
I rolled a Cyndaquil on attempt 3 as well and named him Tim Hortons. The rival fight was a success this time. I went straight
What a
for tackle
name.
and Totodile failed a leer on his first turn. By the time I'm back at Sprout Tower, I have a full team. KFC the Pidgey, a Hoppip carried on the Subway name, Taco Bell the Geodude, Carlos Jr. the Bellsprout, who I did not trade for an Onix, and Papa John's the Rattata.
Nice team, actually. Okay, obviously we already have Cyndaquil, like I said, like pretty good starter, probably the best starter that you can get. Pidgey's meh in this game, mostly because like all of its stats are like physical. Well, no, all of its attacks are physical, but it has like I think slightly higher special attack. Not particularly sure. Hoppip is just, in my opinion, just like garbage until like you get to like Jump Bluff, which even then is kind of like garbage. Geodude, fantastic encounter. It's going to be super useful against the Flying type gym, albeit Mud Slap is still a thing. Bellsprout, probably useful in this time period for a sack. And then Rattata, in this game is kind of okay. Like, it's not good, it's not bad though. Because it doesn't have guts. So here we go. Let's see how you go.
Except Subway, who I'll probably be replacing sooner rather than later, and KFC, and head into the gym.
Oh, aren't you getting?
Unfortunately,
Let's
one
see.
of the junior trainer fights, I found myself in a situation where in order to save another one of my Pokemon from fainting, I had to have Tim Hortons take over the fight, causing him to surpass the level cap. This means I won't have him from Faulkner, but like with our Onix from a past life, Mudslap would have spelled bad news for him anyway. Speaking of, let's see if I came more prepared this time. I leave with Carlos Jr. to go against his Pidgey. Despite Vine Whip not being very effective, we were able to outdamage the Pidgey, who was only using Tackle this time. So far so good, but now comes the hard part.
Okay.
I switched to Taco Bell and tanked the Gust that would have probably finished Carlos Jr. off. From here though, the fight goes very similar to how we did last time with Onix. I was hoping to get more damage in before needing to switch, but we were also getting outsped. I switch to Papa John's and do okay damage with a quick attack. However, that flicker of hope is cut short when Papa John's almost gets one shot by our Gust.
Ooh.
I decide the damage is more important and keep him in so he can do one more quick attack. Pidgeotto's in the red as he knocks out Papa John's with another Gust.
Good
Now we're
choice.
fine.
Good
KFC and
choice.
Subway are two
That's
lovable
something.
levels to be amazing.
This is something that you should do, like in like more of your Nuzlocks. I don't know if Rising Feathers is gonna be watching this at some point. Which, like, if you are, hey, hello. This is a pretty good video so far. And judging from what I've seen, like, you definitely have the potential to be a good runner in this. So like, just do more Nuzlocks. I'm really enjoying this content so far. So. Like, considering this is your first hardcore experience, like, this is pretty decent so far. So yeah. But like I said, this is something you should do in more of your Nuzlocks. You should sack off like a bunch of Pokemon that like you would see not as like useful for like upcoming fights and stuff. Because yeah, if there's like a specific Pokemon that you need for a fight, then you definitely have to sack off a different Pokemon. For example, I personally would have actually sacked off the Hoppip because like it's not really that useful, but oh well. Choice is yours.
Fitting use, and Carlos Jr. and Taco Bell both have low health, with neither holding a berry.
This is another thing. Okay. I think it would have been useful to actually like grind up like the rest of your Pokemon. Like, assuming KFC is your Pidgey and Subway is your Hoppip? I still think it would have been okay to like, because here's the thing, like you want them to like, the ideal like thing is like, sure, you're gonna be sacking them off, but you also want them to like be able to like survive like at least one attack. That way like you can like get more time to like understand what you want to like be doing. I don't know. That's just like a little thing. Also, yeah, Cyndaquil's not in this fight. I just remembered. Right. I gotta remember. This is a hardcore Nuzlocke, so.
Since Vine Whips would be even less effective than they were against Pidgey, I go for Taco Bell and start thinking about how I can do things differently in attempt 4. But Taco Bell is a lot more stubborn than I gave him credit for. He survives one Mud Slap and is able to hit Pidgeotto with a tackle, bringing him down to a sliver. Another Mud Slap and Taco Bell is only at 1 HP, but now his accuracy is down by 2 stages. He just needs to land one more attack. Taco Bell then channels all of his fighting spirit and focus into this attack. And it connects, knocking out the Pidgeotto and giving us the Zephyr badge.
Very clutch,
One intense
very clutch.
fight. Never in my life would I have thought that Faulkner of all things would be this difficult. We're definitely not in Kanto anymore.
Yeah, definitely.
With the new level cap being 16, I pick up Tin Hortons and head towards Azalea Town, catching a Zubat along the way in Union Cave I named Wendy's.
I just noticed, you caught another Rattata, so I'm guessing like you're not playing with Dupe's Claws either. Which, if you guys don't know Dupe's Claws, it's a little like unwritten rule where like you don't need to catch like more of the same Pokemon that you already had. Like even if it's like dead, then you can just like ignore it, like if it's your first encounter, to like get more variety in your encounters and stuff. I guess like she didn't play with that. Is it she or they? I can't tell. I'm gonna go with they for now. So yeah. Anyways, Zubat, fantastic encounter. Crobat is amazing, is blazing fast, and has a pretty good defensive typing.
I'm glad trainers starting this gen have names, because it means I can easily identify that it was Hiker Anthony specifically that almost took out my entire team. True, I approached him despite being a bit beat up from trainer fights in the cave, so I guess you could say it was my own fault, but it still doesn't make it any less annoying. The fact that I got out of there with no casualties was probably the result of extreme luck. Carl Jr. surviving by 1 HP was especially tense.
Ooh.
While in the Slowpoke well, I catch one of its namesake, which I named Chipotle.
Ooh, Slowpoke. One of my favorite Pokemon of all time. Like Slowbro's like easily like my top, one of the top Pokemon in my like Kanto list, alongside Gyarados. Mostly because like it's super bulky and it can take attacks like super well. Maybe not so much on the special side, but physically it is god amazing.
Replaces Subway. Other than Tim Hortons, my team is all Gen 1 Pokemon right now. Either because that's what I've come across, or the ones I have just aren't very good. I'm actually a bit disappointed. I was hoping to have a team that was a bit more unique to the game I was playing. But we're not far along yet, so maybe that will change. I challenged Bugsy, and the fight couldn't have been more different than the one with Faulkner. For Sirs, I have Tim Hortons, now Quilava, to do super effective damage. And indeed, he one-shots his Metapod with Ember. Next comes Scyther, whose Fury Cutter can get a bit scary if left unchecked. But we resist it to begin with, so we knock him out with a few more Embers before he's able to get much momentum. And lastly, Bugsy sends out his Kakuna, who we one-shot just like we did his Metapod.
Yeah, I think Bugsy's a pushover with, like Quilava. I feel like if you had, say, like Totodile, this would have been a little, like, harder. For like, you having Chikorita, then this would have definitely been a run killer for you. Mostly because, like, Chikorita Bayleaf is not good against Scyther in particular. Because this Scyther is, like, really, really hard to deal with if it gets, like, too many Fury Cutters off and stuff, so.
Hive badge acquired. On the way out of Azalea Town, our rival challenges to our second match.
Nice.
Taco Bell goes against his Ghastly, and we take it down in 2 rock throws. Next is Croconaw, and the plan was to use Carlos Jr., but after one Vine Whip, I take too much damage from Scratch and decide to put him to sleep before switching out to KFC. Croconaw was kind enough to stay asleep while KFC quick attacked him until he was knocked out.
Okay.
Zubat is out last, and I keep up with the quick attacks while Zubat keeps failing to confuse me.
Ooh, nice
Better luck next
crits.
time. With that interruption out of the way, I can now think of more important things, like Whitney's level 20 Miltank.
Oh.
To prepare, I grind south of Goldenrod City, only for KFC to faint against itself.
Ooh.
Ditto can be found here, and even though KFC was only at half health, I thought the level gap would be enough, but apparently not. The Ditto got in an extra quick attack that ended KFC's battle career.
Okay, alright. So, here's the thing. Most people, especially, most beginner Nuzlocks don't know this, but, what is it? Okay, so most beginner Nuzlockers don't know this, especially if like this is your first hardcore experience, but Ditto actually copies all of your stats, and that means like your speed and stuff will like be copied over as well. So like it is technically still a speed tie, like when Ditto copies your stats. The only thing that doesn't change is its HP, mostly because like I feel like the devs thought that would be like cheating and stuff, but I don't know. But yeah, Ditto can actually like beat up like some of your Pokemon if it's like faster than you, which it probably has a good chance of being so, just because like, well, in this case in particular, it's using Quick Attack, so I don't know. Oh well.
Apparently not. The Ditto got in an extra quick attack that ended KFC's battle career. There's nothing in my box I find worth training, so instead I head to Route 35 and fish up a Magikarp I named Lon John Silvers. I throw him at the daycare people.
The classic Pokemon to use in your Nuzlocks. Gyarados is the most consistent Pokemon in Nuzlocke. In this game, it's much weaker because it doesn't have the busted move in Dragon Dance, and I also don't believe it has Earthquake yet. Unless it does, but I just don't remember. But yeah, Gyarados is like noticeably weaker in this game, but it's still pretty good. You still have to watch for electric type moves, but like even so, like I think Geodude will be okay in that front. The only Pokemon that you would be really fearing is probably like Chinchou and Lantern, but Bellsprout can like take care of that. So yeah.
People and take the odd egg they offer me. I remember the Togepi
Oh,
egg
the
given
odd
at the beginning
egg,
of the
right.
game, but I completely
I
forgot,
forgot about this.
one.
I reacted to
It's
this part too.
possible
I was
often
just like,
skipped it if I ever went
what?
to the daycare during a playthrough.
They got a shiny
It hatches into
Cleffa.
a Cleffa, a special Cleffa, in fact. Upon researching the odd egg while writing the script, I learned a few things. It hatches into one of the new baby Pokemon introduced in this gen, that being Pichu, Cleffa, Igglybuff, Tyrogue, Smoochum, Elekid, or Magby. And in the international version of the game, it has a 14% chance of being shiny, as opposed to 50% in the Japanese version. Because it's shiny, its hidden power type is Grass, which in hindsight I wish I had known.
See, this I didn't know. This I actually didn't know. Like, hidden power grass, like, is apparently what indicates the Pokemon being shiny. So I guess in competitive, like, Pokemon, yeah, like, revealing your hidden power type like that is just, like, not desirable. Because, like, they'll know what coverage, like, you have. So, alright. Good research on your end. I didn't even know this.
It has better IVs than a non-shiny. As excited as I was to get this, I don't see a place for it on my team just yet and boxed for now.
I will say that like Pichu and Elekid probably would have been like some of the better like egg Pokemon that you could have gotten. So unfortunate there, but like oh well, those are the odds.
Enough housekeeping. Time to fight Whitney. I leave with Taco Bell and her Clefairy gets things started with a metronome, becoming a tri-attack. It does very little damage and we don't suffer an affliction. A very good outcome. Taco Bell retaliates with a magnitude 7, bringing her into the red. Clefairy rolls the dice again with another metronome, this time getting rest. Despite her health being fully restored, those 2 turns of sleep give us enough time to take her down with more magnitudes. Both also being 7s, by the way. But then it's Miltank, the bane of many a childhood. She goes for rollout, of course, but in this first round it only does 2 points of damage. I go for magnitudes. A 7 and 2 9s later, and we take out Miltank before even losing half our health. Maybe rollout isn't as impressive as I remember it being.
That's because you have yourself a Geodude, which resists rollout. Geodude is so good for this fight, dude, especially against Miltank. Mostly because, like, I think, like, rollout is probably Miltank's strongest attack to go for. So, like, this is really good for you, especially because, like I said, this is why Geodude is so good early game. I think it starts to fall off, like, mid to late game, but it's still pretty good. It's still pretty good there.
I guess Whitney feels the same.
Ooh, on the other hand, like, I personally think that, okay, so, right here, you'll notice that, Rising Feathers actually got rid of self-destruct, which I think that's actually a misplay. If you find yourself in, like, a situation that you can't, like, get out of unless you, like, go for, like, an explosion type of move, then, you probably... correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, I think in Gen 3 there's like a mechanic around like explosion and self-destruct where if you use self-destruct or explosion, the opposing Pokemon's turn will be uh will be skipped. Like if you're faster, I believe. I'm not sure. I can't exactly recall, but it's something like that. I think it's Gen 3 only, so like definitely explosion and self-destruct are like much like less useful, but still I think it's super handy to have because it has the target's defense, which is like a notable thing about the explosion type of moves. So yeah, like I said, I think it's super handy to have, in my opinion. So I think this is a misplay in all honesty.
Guess Whitney feels the same
But
way,
oh well.
since you have to talk to her twice before she'll stop crying long enough to give you the badge. Before leaving Goldenrod, I spruce up the team a bit. I finished evolving London
Ooh.
Silvers into a Gyarados. After some input from my Twitch chat, I end up replacing Tripoli with Firehouse, that shiny Cleffa from before.
Nice.
It needs friendship, of course, to become a Clefairy, so I spend a lot of time walking around and getting her haircuts. This will also come in handy eventually after Zubat evolves into Golbat. Might as well multitask. I've never used a
Friendship
Crobat before,
grinding.
but
Good
I'm told it's
job.
pretty good. Can't wait to find out. Except that I won't, because she faints shortly after our Route 36 against Psychic Mark. I was using Wendy's because Bite is a dark move, but in so doing, I forgot that Wendy's herself is not dark, and is in fact weak to psychic moves. She gets one shot from his Kadabra. I guess the wonders of Crobat will remain a mystery.
Yeah, that was a bit of a misplay. Not to sound harsh, but that was a very awful move. uh, yeah, you should have definitely swapped out. I think Gyarados would have been your best swap there, because like, well, first off, the fact that Zubat is not even evolved yet, I don't think you should have just kept that thing in at all. Against like a Kadabra, like that thing has like an obscene amount of special attack, so I definitely think you should have played around it rather than just leave the Zubat in. So alright, but we all learn.
Not
We all
gone long
learn.
enough to be missed, Chipotle finds herself back on the team. It's the rival fight at the Burn Tower. First is Long John Silvers versus Haunter.
Oh, here
I
we
have
go.
Which is super effective, and it takes him down in 2. But not before I get paralyzed from a lick.
Unlucky.
Next he sends out Magnemite, and I swap for Taco Bell. After
Good job.
surviving 2 rock throws, Magnemite lands a super sonic,
Magnitude's your
and after
best
getting
move here, by the way?
confusion, our health is low enough that I bring in Carl's Jr. Grass isn't effective here, but it's good enough to get the job done. Zubat is next, and I switch for Tim Hortons, just to be hit with the Confuse Ray instantly. This guy
Okay.
and his status afflictions, I wish he wouldn't. But Tim Hortons doesn't fall for it and snaps himself out of it on the 3rd Ember, taking out the Zubat. Last is
God,
Croconaw, and I
I
bring Carl's
wish,
Jr. back into
dude, I wish my luck with confusion was this good, bro. There's something about confusion where I just always hit myself. Like there's no in between. I always hit myself. I don't understand why it happens to me only, but oh well. Like people have like different types of luck sometimes. But yeah, it's whatever. Anyways, like personally against the Haunter and the Magnemite, I think you should have led with Geodude, because Magnitude was like your strongest move. Haunter's super frail; it doesn't have Levitate yet. Magnemite is super frail to ground type moves, and it never gets Levitate. So, yeah, I think you could have done a better lead. So
him to sleep. I get 2 Vine Whips in before he wakes up and lands a Bite. This combined with the damage from earlier in the fight brings her low enough that I swap her out for Long John Silvers. Croconaw bites us again, but this time we bite back, knocking him out and winning the fight. Definitely not a clean battle.
okay, all right. So let me back up here for a sec. So you notice that you are faster. What you could have done here is actually stay in and like kill the Croconaw with Weepinbell. So I think this was also a misplay because you were also chancing the fact that you were like being fully paralyzed and stuff from the lick from the Hunter before. But oh well, it won you the fight. It's whatever, I guess. So.
Next part, it's just hilarious to me. Ah, whatever. You would never be able to catch a legendary Pokemon anyway. What are you doing? Falling into a hole? Some genius you are. Serves you right. He really is nasty, isn't he? Damn, dude. After releasing the legendary trio, I prepare for the fight against Morty. I actually run into Raikou while doing so.
Oh.
I throw a great ball at him for the hell of it, but unsurprisingly, it doesn't work. Oh well. Speaking of Morty, let's talk about that.
Okay, alright. That's a great sprite, by the way. Okay, so I never really considered how I would work around, like, dealing with, any of the legendary dogs and such. I personally think, that if you do manage to catch them, then I'd say just use it, because roaming legends are just so annoying to deal with. Entei is a little less so on the spectrum of, like, usability, but, like, Raikou, fantastic Pokemon. Oh my god, it's so useful to have an electric type Pokemon on your team, especially when, like, when the latter portion of this game, in Johto at least, has, like, so many, like, Pokemon weak to electric. So let's see. And especially, like, with your rival having Feraligatr as well. You also have, I believe, Gyarados from Claire. You have the Kingdra from Claire, which, like, Raikou has the bulk to take on. You have, like, Pokemon such as, like, Xatu from Will. You have, I believe you have, like, Crobat that you can also be dealing with from Karen? I can't remember off the top of my head. It's been so long since I've played Crystal. But honestly, like, and especially with, like, the fight against Lance as well, Raikou would be so good, but yeah. It is, like, above the level cap where you are right now, so I guess it's whatever.
Ghastly uses Curse right off the bat, and we knock it out with a confusion. His counter is
Okay.
Lips, which, like most Pokemon, outspeeds us and puts us to sleep with hypnosis. A Pokemon with slow in its name is slow? Weird. Ghastly's Curse lowers our health, but I risk keeping Chipotle in for one more turn and hope she'll wake up. But she doesn't, and
Okay, alright. Okay, let's see this one more time. Let's see this one more time, because I have an idea of what was happening here.
A Pokemon with
So, you were being put to sleep, you already had Curse on you.
slow in its name is slow? Weird.
And then
Ghastly's
you
Curse-
tried to chance the fact that you could potentially wake up. It's not very likely, but it can happen. I wouldn't risk it. I would just swap to a different Pokemon, say, like, for example, your Geodude.
Lowers our health, but I risk keeping Chipotle in for one more turn and hope she'll wake up. But she doesn't, and I have no choice but to switch to Long John Silver's.
Yeah.
A bite from him almost has it, but he sticks around long enough to use a curse of his own.
Okay.
Gengar is last, but I'm in a bad spot. I get one bite in, but Curse takes its cut, and Gengar puts me to sleep. Confusion and Bite were my only super effective moves. Time to improvise. I swap in Carl's Jr. to see if I could put him to sleep. In a series of good luck, Gengar uses a useless Dream Eater and fails the hypnosis it outspeeds us with.
Okay,
Also,
good
our Sleep
play.
Powder connects. However, Vine Whip does jack all for damage, and I'm wishing that LJS wasn't the only Pokemon at the level cap of 25. Nothing I can do about that now, and I use a precious turn of sleep to switch to Taco Bell. Gengar wakes up immediately, but fails another hypnosis.
Okay, alright. I'm noticing a trend here. I think what's happening is that Rising Feathers doesn't know that abilities do not exist in Gen 2. It's only until Gen 3 when they start to exist. So, again, Magnitude is your best move here, because, like, Gengar, none of the ghosts are actually levitating yet. So, like, that's probably your strongest move. Rock Throw, sure, it's, like, consistent and all that, but, like, Magnitude, while it does have, like, a chance for a low roll, like, it's also, like, a super effective attack. So I would say, and considering, like, your luck with, like, getting, like, 7s and 9s and all that, like, I'd say, yeah, you should have been going for Magnitude here. Just as a side note, like with any, like, hardcore Nuzlocke, or just, like, any Nuzlocke reactions, like, any, like, type of Nuzlocke reaction is a case study on what you can improve in your future Nuzlocks, so you don't do the same mistakes. So,
Hypnosis, giving us a chance to use Rock Throw, taking him to the red. But Gengar uses Hypnosis again, and now half my team is asleep. I get another free switch from Gengar using Dream Eater. He uses Hypnosis,
Nice.
which I'm sure you could have guessed, but it fails, letting us knock him out with an Ember.
one more Haunter.
Too bad he has a Haunter left. I kind of forgot about that one. Never mind, Gengar wasn't last. We trade Nightshades and Embers, but he's out damaging us.
Okay.
Time to switch for the 100th time. This time back to Carl's Jr. for another Sleep Powder. It works, but not before receiving damage from 2 Nightshades. That's the last time we can use this strategy.
Alright.
I swapped to Taco Bell.
So I'm
He's
curious
asleep,
what
but
you do
Firehouse
here.
is underleveled, and everyone else is at low health. It's all come down to a gamble to see who wakes up first. Haunter.
Again, magnitude's your best move here.
Taco Bell. Asleep. Haunter. Asleep. Taco Bell. Awake. Rock throw hits and takes down Haunter.
Amazing editing.
That's
I
the
love
fog
that.
badge in our possession, but what a crazy fight. I feel like there could have been a million ways for that to have gone, but I could have made it easier on myself. I could have leveled more Pokemon to the level cap, especially Chipotle. I did give her the Quick Law to hold to try to bypass Ruffle's speed, but I don't think it activated once.
Okay. So let's see. What are some things you can improve as well? Because you did say that battle was pretty messy. I would say remember that abilities do not exist yet. I would also say that honestly, if you leveled up Clefairy, it actually wouldn't have been completely useless. Like, let me see something really quick. Let me see something because, oh my god, my scroller is not working at all. So I'm not sure if you do research for any of like the fights at all, Rising Feathers, but one thing that you could have done, like if you had prepped for this like fight, is that you can actually level up your Clefairy, and you can actually leave it in on a deceptively high amount of Morty's Pokemon, because their only offensive attacks would either be Nightshade or Curse. Like, obviously Gengar has Hypnosis and Dream Eater, but like that's pretty much the only Pokemon that you really need to prep for. Otherwise, a normal type just completely walls it, which you have in Clefairy. So I would say like, I think like doing research on like these upcoming fights would be super helpful for you to do. So I'd say like do some research, I would say, and like you should be fine. Because what I personally would have done, and especially like if you received the Togepi egg at all, then what I would have done was probably actually use the Togepi in this fight, because like I said, it completely ignores like a majority of Morty's Pokemon, the only one being Gengar that actually has to be worried about. So yeah, I'd say that's otherwise like you still gotta remember that abilities don't exist pretty much.
Also, as I'm sure many of you have noticed, I'm not at all utilizing Firehouse. My only thoughts for her at the time were to evolve her into Clefable. The problem was getting a Moonstone. Going to Kanto was obviously out of the question, so I had two choices. Have my mom start saving me money in the hopes she might buy one, or to beat Morty. Clearly I chose that option. And now that I have, I can serve at the ruins of Alf, breeding a Pokemon into its Flash. For this, I breed a Ladybug I caught at the National Park. After using Flash in the ruins, you're given several items, including a Moonstone. Clefable acquired.
Good job.
I head on to Ecritique and run into my rival.
Hang on, let me see something about Clefairy real quick. So this is a stone evolution, and let's see, like what level did you evolve it at? Let me see here real quick. What level did you evolve the Clefairy at? You evolved it at level 11. Okay, so in my opinion, I think you should have actually waited to evolve this as like late as you wanted to. Like this is probably the earliest that you could have done it, and in your rush, like you're actually missing out on a bunch of moves that Clefairy can use that Clefable can't, because like it's already leveled up. Because assuming that this is a stone evolution, which it is, it won't be getting any of these moves anymore. So, for example, you're missing out on Minimize at, I believe, level 19, which you're very much below that for. You're also missing out on attacks like Double Slap. You're also missing out on like a recovery move in Moonlight, but that's at like level 43. I definitely probably wouldn't have like kept it as a Clefairy for that long. So, all right, but pretty much, I think you know what I'm saying. Evolving it early, pretty much a misplay. Evolving it late as possible to get like a bunch of moves that you otherwise can't get, I'd say you need that. But oh well. Let's see here.
Using Flash in the ruins, you're given several items, including a Moonstone. Clefable acquired. I head on to Ecritique and run into my rival outside the gym. He must have smelled my fear, though, because he didn't bother to challenge me this time. Instead informing me that Jasmine was busy at the lighthouse. Sure enough, she sent into the sick Ampharos, and she asked that I hurry to Cyanwood City for medicine. The thing is, because of this Nuzlocke, Amph is going to have to stay sick for a little while. At this point, you're given a bit of freedom in terms of what order you'd like to do the next few gym fights in. As such, they're all at a similar level, but because of our level cap, it's most beneficial for me to do them in ascending max level order, so I don't overlevel my team by accident.
Nice.
With that in mind, we are going to Cyanwood and picking up the medicine, but we're going to stay there and fight Chuck. Then Price. And then Jasmine. Sorry, Amphi. Oh, and as a side note, Taco Bell evolved into Graveler on the way up the lighthouse.
Nice.
So Chuck. My plan was to use Chipotle for Primeape and Carl's Jr. for Poliwrath with LJS on standby just in case. The first part of that went fine. None of Primeape's moves are able to do much damage to Chipotle, letting her knock him out with a few confusions. Poliwrath is his last Pokemon, and I keep Chipotle in long enough to get off one confusion. After that, I swap to Carl's Jr., who avoids the Hypnosis sent out to greet her. Poliwrath goes for Mind Reader, and I go for Vine Whip to bring him down to below half health.
Nice.
Poliwrath, now unable to miss this attack, hits us with a Dynamic Punch.
Okay.
It normally only has 50% accuracy. In an out-of-character moment of strategy, I had taken Dynamic Punch into account and had given Considerberry beforehand. So I immediately shook off the confusion and landed another Vine Whip, bringing Poliwrath into the red. However, his next Hypnosis does succeed, and we sleep through 2 Dynamic Punch misses. She would win if she would only wake up, but she doesn't, and a third Dynamic Punch hits, putting us in the red as well. We wake up on our next turn, but take damage from the confusion, knocking us out.
Unfortunate. Okay, so that was good. You did prep for a Dynamic Punch. You definitely did prep for Dynamic Punch there, but that's unfortunate that you got cucked like that from Dynamic Punch and stuff. So that was good that you prepped, although you probably should have taken into account like the fact that if he lands the next Dynamic Punch, then this will happen and stuff. So unfortunate, but hey, you did the best that you could. One thing I could have done though is that you probably could have swapped to Gyarados, like if like on the next Dynamic Punch, like on the chance that like it would probably land. But I don't know. I think you did the best that you could there. So
planned as a backup anyway, I should have probably switched to him once Carl's Jr. had been put to sleep, but now it's too late and she's taking the big sleep.
oh yeah, even you mentioned that too.
So of course I switched to LJS and went with the Dragon Rage.
Okay.
If you saw my yellow Nuzlocke video, you may recall me struggling to break my habits of using brute force to win battles rather than strategy. Seems that struggle is still very much real. I get the Storm Badge, but also the TM for Dynamic Punch, which feels more like an insult than a gift. Before heading to Mahogany Town, I address my team.
Ooh, let's see your box actually. Real quick. So here's another thing. I noticed that your team that you brought into Chuck's gym was not very prepped at all. Let's look at your box really quick and let's see a bunch of like different options that you could have taken with you. Tentacruel, fantastic Pokemon by the way. It's super good, it's super defensive, and it's actually deceptively fast. Magnemite, pretty decent for Poliwrath, but probably would have been a less than stellar choice otherwise. Miltank, not really that great for the gym, but otherwise pretty good. Let's see. Coughing, I'm assuming that's Domino's, but Coughing, pretty good for the gym. Sudowoodo, also, it's kind of meh actually now that I think about it. You have a Jigglypuff I saw, probably not good, not worth the Moonstone. Butterfree actually wouldn't have been that bad, because like last I checked, I don't think they have rock type moves, but most fighting types definitely have fighting type moves, but oh well. Like I think like Butterfree would have been like good for a sack, in all honesty. So, and Spearow is pretty good as a Fearow. It's definitely outclassed by Dodrio, but like it's still a serviceable flying type that you could have used. So immediately you have like Coughing, you have Spearow, you have Magnemite, and there was something else I can't remember off the top of my head. But oh yeah, Tentacruel, fantastic Pokemon that you could have replaced Quilava, Graveler, Clefable with, and all that. So I'm going super in depth. Oh my gosh, you have so many Pokemon. Oh, look at that! You actually did go into the Ruins of Elf. Never mind. Okay, let's see. So you have Unknown. You have the Togepi there, which is interesting. There's the Rattata. There's the Hoppip, which never died. There's what was that? Who's Crystal? Oh God. Okay. Oh my God, I can't pause on a Lediba, Shuckle, and all that. Okay, alright. Yeah, you could have picked a lot different Pokemon there, but otherwise, it's pretty okay for how it turned out.
It looks appealing. I settle on Culver's. At Magnemite, I have
Oh, you have
you
have a Growlithe as well too.
On the team will give us a bit more to work with price. Except I immediately come up with a better idea. Firehouse. She still has her original moveset, so she's been next to useless so far. But no longer. I discovered that the Goldenrod department store sells Thunder Punch, Fire Punch, and Ice Punch TMs.
Ooh,
a great way to get
okay.
Firehouse while taking advantage of the fact that she's a special attacker. Also, since these are purchasable, there is no loss of TMs should she faint. A pretty good situation if I do say so myself, despite how long it's taken me to see it. Nothing exciting happens at the Rocket Hideout in Mahogany Town, so next is price.
That's really
Despite being the reason
good.
Culver's was brought onto the team, I didn't use it once. Instead, I was able to rely on Firehouse's newly acquired Thunder Punch to take out both the Seal and the Dugong. Each took 2 or 3 punches to knock out, but the returning ice damage was doing so little to her that there was never a point that I felt like I was in any real danger. I really wish I had done this ages ago. Lastly is Pillow-Swine, and after being reminded that Thunder Punch doesn't affect him, and did a bit more damage, I switched to Timhoran, who was able to finish the fight in 2 Fire Wheels. I'm glad that the level cap was 31 and not 30, otherwise I would have been stuck with Ember as his only fire move.
Alright.
Not ideal. The chill of the Glacier Badge reminds me of what Ampy will feel like if I don't finally bring him his medicine, so I hightail it back to Olivine City. At least I do after a bit of a grind first. Her Steelix is level 35 after all. But actually, her gym battle ends up being the easiest one we've had so far. Taco Bell goes out against her.
Alright. You learned magnitude on the steel types. Amazing, good job.
And one shot with a magnitude 7. Maybe I could have done this gym sooner after all. I hope Ampy doesn't find out. Then she sends out her Steelix, but we switch to LJS.
Alright,
one shots him
nice.
With Surf. Seems good. As you can imagine, her other Magnemite also gets one shot with a magnitude, though this one was only a 6.
That was really good. Alright.
That's Jasmine defeated. Maybe she's better off being a nurse than a gym leader. The next story beat is the Team Rocket takeover at the radio tower. Things are pretty uneventful until we get to the Rocket executive who has the basement key. Culver's is at the front because I'm trying to get at some levels. It's not very strong and it has been struggling. It's one attack away from knocking out his first coughing, but then misses due to a smoke screen.
Uh-oh.
And then the coughing self-destructs, taking out
Yeah, that's what I
Culver's.
expected.
Of course, I don't...
Oh, you gotta be careful with that. I think it would have been safer to switch into Graveler there because like Magnemite still, like I said, it was super frail, so I don't think keeping it in there was really a good idea. So, oh well.
I don't want any of my Pokemon to faint, especially to attacks like Self-Destruct and Explosion, but I have a hard time feeling that broken up about this. Taco Bell magnitudes his way through the rest of his remaining Pokemon, and Culver's heads for the box. I don't feel in the slot right now because I was settling for Culver's in the first place. Hopefully I catch something a bit more enticing later on.
Okay,
my rival follows me into the basement and challenges me to a fight. And unlike Jasmine, it's far from easy. In fact, it's the scariest battle we've had yet. Golbat's first bite causes Taco Bell to flinch, so we have to wait an extra turn before we can use Rock Throw.
Okay,
Of course he lives with a Sliver. We finished off with a tackle, but we're at less than half health.
Yikes.
Alligator's up next, and I bring in Firehouse. He uses a water gun, outspeeds with a bite that causes us to flinch, fails using a scary face, and then Firehouse is able to get in her first Thunder Punch.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
I go for another, but bite causes us to flinch again. After taking damage from another bite, our second Thunder Punch leaves him with only a smidge of health left. And you know what? Alligator uses bite, and we flinch for a third time. I thought bite only had a 30% chance to flinch. What the hell is going on here? 3 out of 4 of his bites have succeeded in flinching us. This is absurd. My health is low, but I risk one more turn. Surely this wouldn't happen again.
Uh-oh.
He bites. It's a crit, leaving us at 5 HP, and he flinches. I can't deal with this.
Unfortunate.
Someone please tell me if there's another factor at play here that's causing the percentage to go over 30%, because right now we're at 80%. This is ridiculous. Firehouse is too good to lose. So
Nope,
I swap
there's
routes
just
for
no
LJS.
other factors. You're just
Relegator
unlucky.
bites and crits, but doesn't get the flinch, so we're able to take him out with our own bite. Next is a Magnemite who's 7 levels lower than me, so I decide to stay instead of switching to Taco Bell for some reason, and use Dragon Rage for big damage. Unfortunately, a Thunder Wave paralyzes us, and a follow-up Thunder Shock does a big chunk of damage to LJS.
That was a really brave move on your end. I don't know why you did that. I don't know why you decided to stay in and not take the safer approach of just switching to Graveler. Oh my god, that was scary.
Yeah, we're able to knock it out with a second Dragon Rage. On to our start, and this is where having a healthier LJS would have come in handy. So I switched to Chipotle, but the rival switches to Sneasel, so I switched to Tim Horan. The Sneasel lowers my defense right off the bat with a Leer and a Screech. That's pretty yikes. I hope to flame him with one shot, but he's still in the yellow. A quick attack from him crits and almost knocks us out.
Oh my god.
Sneasel, but there's still a Haunter to deal with, and my team is looking rough. Only Chipotle is still at full health, so despite the matchup being unfavorable for us, I bring her out only for her to take a Shadow Ball to the face. It does less than half of her full health, meaning that a crit would have knocked her out. I go for Confusion, but another Shadow Ball hits us first. It doesn't crit, but we can't survive another one. Confusion is super effective, but a special attacker, Chipotle is not, so it only damages him for slightly less than half health. What can I do at this point? It's bad enough I only had 5 Pokemon in the first place, but now they're all in the yellow or red. LJS has the most HP left despite being paralyzed, so I go for him, only to almost fade to a crit Shadow Ball.
Oh my god,
maybe
you're
Taco
such a
Bell?
bind.
He's my highest level Pokemon and now the one with the most remaining health. A Shadow Ball of course is there to greet him, but it doesn't do as much damage as it had the others. I pray to Arceus and use Magnitude, hoping we roll high.
Good job.
It's only a 6, but it's enough. I guess I should have switched to him sooner. That fight was... I'm not sure how to describe it. I thought Hiker Anthony was bad enough, but this was something else.
Good
Pokemon
job,
need to be
dude.
stronger. I grind for levels before finishing off the Rocket Takeover, and Tim Hortons evolves into Typhlosion in the process. I'm encouraged to go to
nice.
Tin Tower, so I do and defeat the sages within, but I hold up on the Suicune encounter. In general, I don't want to use legendary Pokemon during these challenges, but I want to keep the option available, just in case. While going through Icy Path, I start having issues carrying items.
That is
Despite the
respectable.
bag having multiple pockets now, the general items pouch is not big enough to carry everything that I find, so I'm having to visit the PC to figure out what to keep, sell, or store. Being that the PC isn't out of room yet like what happened to me in Yellow, I can't say it's as bad this time, but I'm missing the berry pocket of later games. Now that we're in Blackthorn City, we can challenge Claire. Once again, I predict Firehouse is going to be a great asset here. Or at least she would have been if I had planned my strategy more carefully. Knowing that all 3 of her Dragonairs know Thunder Wave, I had given a Paralysis Cure Berry to Firehouse to hold. Except I gave it to her while I was still fighting her junior trainers, and one of their Pokemon happened to paralyze me, spending the one berry I had. Long story short, I kept forgetting to harvest berries every day for times like these, so I'm facing Claire with that one. Let's see how it went. I outspeed the Dragonair on the first turn with an Ice Punch. I'm really hoping it'll
Okay,
finish
Ice
hit,
Punch.
but no, it's
Nice.
still in the red,
Amazing.
which sucks because, as you could guess, she paralyzes me with Thunder Wave immediately.
Yeah.
Now I'm slower, but thankfully neither Surf nor Thunderbolts from the next Dragonair do much damage. But it doesn't fix the fact that by the time the third Dragonair comes out, I'm only at half health, which is taken quickly down to about a quarter from a crit Ice Beam. Firehouse's Ice Punches are still a 2-shot,
Cool,
so I
crit.
need to switch to someone who can finish the job. I bring in Chipotle, now a Slowbro, who takes an Ice Beam and a Dragon Breath. She finishes off the Dragonair with a Headbutt. Last is Kendra, and I keep Chipotle in to get as much damage as I can.
Oh, does she not have a
We ended up
Gyarados in
pretty weak
this?
Headbutt, but then our
Oh, dang, I
paralyzed
guess
Dragon
not then.
Breath, so I
Alright.
swapped to LJS. Ready to take it down with Dragon moves, except it didn't go as planned. LJS has Twister and Dragon Rage, and it turns out that I never read the fine print on Dragon Rage. I was frustrated the whole battle, wondering why I was doing so little damage and why it wasn't super effective like it should be. I realized later that, like other moves such as Sonic Boom, it has a fixed amount of damage it can do, in this case 40 HP.
Correct.
At lower levels, this was probably doing decent damage, which is how I hadn't noticed, but at level 40 damage is nothing special. I was probably better off using Twister instead.
Yeah.
Despite that, and Claire using a Hyper Potion, we're able to knock out the Kingdra without much fuss, winning the battle and giving us our 8th and final badge. Or it would, if Claire didn't have our rival's mentality on how to raise Pokemon. She doesn't take us seriously, so we have to go talk to some sages, who turn out to be so impressed by us that they tell Claire that if she doesn't embody our philosophy, they're going to tell Lance on her. Yikes. So, thanks for the badge.
Tattletales much?
Despite not being quite ready for the Elite Four yet, I head through Victory Road to have the area accessible and accidentally run into our rival.
Uh-oh.
I knew he was in here, but I didn't realize how short the path through Victory Road was in this
Stinky.
game. I didn't know it was going up
Let's
on the
see.
exit. But no worries, he was really easy.
Okay, good.
His Sneasel, Magneton, and Feraligatr. Golbat actually survives a Thunder Punch and confuses us. After getting bad confusion luck coupled with previous damage, I swap out to LJS, who was able to finish it off as well as his remaining Haunter and Kadabra with 2 bites each. Despite the ass whooping, he seems to have finally started to understand that maybe his way of training isn't the best and vows to beat us once he's figured things out.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Once I reach the Indigo Plateau, I assess our current team and am bothered immediately by 2 things. 1, that we don't have a strong psychic presence on our team, and 2, we don't have a 6th Pokemon. When Chipotle is part psychic, all she knows is confusion. She won't learn psychic naturally until level 54, which is past our level cap.
True.
There are 2 psychic TMs in this game, but they're both out of reach in Kanto, so no help whatsoever. I'm going to have to do some thinking about how to take on Bruno. As for the problem with the 6th team member, I once again go through the PC. It could have solved 2 problems at once if I had a decent psychic Pokemon in there, but unfortunately that isn't the case. I mull over the possibility of using the extreme speed Dratini from the Dragon's Den, but for 1, it wouldn't be able to evolve into a Dragonite.
Yeah, it's not a Dragonite.
And for 2, its moveset didn't impress me. I could enhance it with a Dragon Breath from Claire, but it'll mostly be needed for Lance, where it would be a glass cannon situation. Despite not having Stab, it makes more sense to me to give Dragon Breath to LJS. So I move on from that and come across Popeyes, an Ursaring from Dark Cave that I had recently caught. Her moveset isn't great either, but what I do see potential in is the TMs that she can learn. Like a lot of normal type Pokemon, she can learn a large array of attacks, and that's when I get the idea to make another Firehouse. Sort of. I do go back to Goldenrod and teach her the same 3 punches Firehouse knows, with Slash being her 4th
Interesting.
move, but I have to concede that this isn't a foolproof strategy. While indeed I no longer have to rely on Firehouse as our sole source of ice and electric damage, Popeyes can only be a backup to Firehouse because Ursaring are physical attackers, not special. While Slash should do great damage,
good to know that you took that into account.
Firehouses. But I feel based on what we have, this isn't the worst plan ever, so I train up the team, distribute any useful TMs I might pick up, and challenge the Elite Four.
Alright, Elite Four time. Let's see how you do.
It's part of the same boss rush, so I'm not sure why this isn't normally the case. Someone let me know. Alright, enough stalling. Let's do it. First up is Will and his Psychic team. First is Zatsu, but he goes down in a single Thunder Punch.
Okay, good lead.
I use Thunder Punch on Jinx, but she hangs on with low health and puts me to sleep, so I swap her out for Tim Horton, who finishes the job with a Flame Wheel. Next is her Slowbro, and I swap
Oh, you taught it Earthquake. What?
That's
not something I see often, huh?
Slowbro uses Curse and uses it again after I land another Thunder Punch.
Slash is probably your best move here, in all honesty.
So I hope this next Thunder Punch does it. And luckily it does. We knocked out the Slowbro without taking any damage from it. Will next sends out his Exeggutor and I try a Fire Punch. This works much better, and since Exeggutor just uses Reflect, another Fire Punch takes it out.
Oh, okay.
Will must hate me so much for not letting him set up. Last is his other Zatsu, but unlike Firehouse, Popeyes doesn't quite one-shot it. Zatsu retaliates with a Psychic, but it only does a Dragon Rage worth of damage.
Okay, cool.
Will uses a Hyper Potion, but it's a done deal as we wrap this up in 2 more Thunder Punches.
That's Max Potion, just for future reference.
Special attack leaves us just short of what we'd like, but enough of what we need. Koga's outgrown his gym in Fuchsia City and is the next Elite Four member in our path. From his Poison team, he leads with Area Dose, but Tim Lawrence one-shots him with a Flame Wheel, and Fortress meets the same fate.
Okay. Yeah, you can just Flame Wheel spam on this whole team.
Was able to knock him out in 1 Earthquake.
Aside from this, I guess.
Crobat uses Double Team as Tim Horns comes in, causing
this is who has Crobat. Okay.
Deciding I was right the first time, I switch him again for Taco Bell and hit him with a Rock Throw for good damage. We get badly poisoned with Toxic, but we somehow hit another Rock Throw to knock him out.
Okay.
Venomoth is his last Pokemon, and I switch once more for Tim Hortons, who unfortunately gets confused immediately.
Unfortunate.
We get ourselves in confusion and take enough damage from Psychic to bring us to about half health. I give him a chance to shake it off, and he does, one-shotting him with Flame Wheel.
Nice.
So far, the Elite Four hasn't been too bad, but I'm not as confident for this next part. Bruno and his fighting team are third, and this is where having Psychic would have been handy. But we work with what we have. I have Chipotle use Confusion against him on top and see what we're working with. She does over half health, while him on top only does minor damage to us. We take it down on the next Confusion, and
this is good. Okay. This is good. It's really good.
Goes with Hitmonchan. He Thunder Punches us, but despite being super effective, we don't take much damage or get paralyzed. Hitmonlee, though, learns from his teammates and uses a Swagger right away.
Ooh.
But in a rare moment of clarity, Chipotle fights through the confusion and does big damage on Hitmonlee, making him confused as well. Not wanting to press my luck and knowing what's left, I swap to LJS and knock him out with a Surf. Next
Nice.
is Onyx, but he's by far the least ready, so he gets one shot with Surf. Last
Easy.
is the champ, and this time Surf only does about a third. However, a Rock Slide takes us to about half. I always forget about Gyarados being part flying. I switch for Chipotle, and she finishes the job in one
Yeah,
confusion.
be careful of that.
Despite being apprehensive going in, that went better than expected. Chipotle's doing really well here. But Karen and her Dark team are up next, and I'm nervous. We don't have any direct strengths to Dark types, and Umbreon doesn't have a subtype.
Yep.
I hope my strategy works. Speaking of Umbreon, she leads with him, and I lead with Tim Horton. Umbreon is fast, but it turns out I might actually be faster. I use Dig and dodge a sand
Ooh,
attack, but the
okay.
damage is minor, and I get hit by a Confuse Ray. We hit ourselves on the next turn, but he fails his next sand attack, so it could have been worse.
Yeah,
So
definitely could
confused,
have been worse.
We connect with a Flame Wheel, bringing him to half health and burning him as
Nice
well.
burn.
Now it's a waiting game. I try to get in one more attack, but the chip damage from the Confusion and Fade attacks begin to pile up. So I switch to Popeyes, who puts him out of his misery with more fire. Conveniently enough,
Wow.
Vile, who is up
Alright,
next,
then.
so I use another Fire Punch and hit for about half health.
Okay.
But Stun Spore paralyzes us, giving her the chance to use Moonlight and a fairly weak Petal Dance. Despite the paralysis though, we're able to win in
Ooh,
2 more Fire
unfortunate,
Punches.
fully
Gengar is
paralyzed.
next, but at this point, Popeyes is only at half health, so I switch to Taco Bell. Gengar uses Curse and paralyzes us with Lick. Except I had picked up another Paralysis Cure Berry along the way, and had given it to Taco Bell to hold
That's
for
really
just
good.
this.
That is
Look
really
at me
good.
learning from past mistakes. We're able to use Earthquake unhindered and knock out the Gengar, canceling the Curse. We also use Earthquake to one-shot the Houndoom, leaving Murkrow
You're
as
faster than the
Houndoom.
Houndoom? Oh my
Taco Bell
god.
has always known how to finish a fight, so it's no surprise that Rock Throw hits in one-shots, defeating Karen and the
Interesting.
Elite Four. Almost there. Before it lands, I obviously heal by making an important item change. Popeyes is plan B, and I want her to have as great of a chance as possible, so I give her Never Melt Ice to hold. Maybe
Nice.
she'll take some of those almost KOs and make them so. I've done all I can do. Let's go. The starting match is
Alright,
Firehouse
here we
versus
go.
Gyarados. We're faster and take it out in one Thunder Punch. That's one.
Mhm.
Dragonite is out next, but once again we outspeed and knock it out
Ice
in one Ice
Punch?
Punch. I'm happy
This
that I guessed
Clefable
right
is
that she
really
didn't need
putting in
Never
the
Melt
work,
Ice
huh?
herself. That's two. Another Dragonite comes out, but it meets the same fate as the last. Halfway there. However, at Aerodactyl I switch. He's pretty fast and I don't want to find out the hard way how well she'd stand up to a Hyper Beam.
Okay.
So LJS comes out and tanks said Hyper Beam. We surf on the recharge and knock it out in one. 2 Pokemon to go.
Nice.
His
Next
last
up is
comes
Dragonite
out, and I
again.
use a Dragon Breath,
Ooh,
but sadly it doesn't do
this
a
is
whole
scary
lot,
that you're staying
and Dragonite
in.
starts to outrage. I was alarmed at first at the damage dealt, but when I saw that it would only last a few turns before confusing the user, I felt better. I switch in Firehouse, who loses about a third to the next
Nice.
outrage, and takes him out in one Ice Punch. Lance's last Pokemon is Charizard, who outspeeds us with a nasty Flamethrower.
Ooh,
Thunder Punch
okay.
doesn't one-shot, but he's pretty low. I bring out a Rock, Taco Bell, and take damage from another Flamethrower. It's not a lot, but more than I would have thought. Indeed, another one takes us under half, but Rock Throw hits us and wins our battle with Lance. Pokemon League
Nice.
Challenge, and this Nuzlocke. Despite being more apprehensive this time about the Elite Four, I think things went better overall. Everyone played an important role and got to contribute. Plus, no deaths. Even our starter was here. Let's give a
Nice.
shout out to the leaders of this fast food nation. Firehouse, the Shiny Clefable. Chipotle, the Slowbro. Taco Bell, the Graveler.
That was really cool, actually.
Tim Horn, the Typhlosion. Popeyes, the Ursa Ring. And Long John Silver's, the Gyarados. Fun fact, 2 of these chains I've never been to. Can you guess what they are? Also, I want to give a shout out to a Spearow named Zaxby's from Route 33. Since none of my core team could learn Fly, he had the task of carrying us all around Johto.
Oh
It couldn't
boy.
have been easy, being a tiny bird and all, so thanks. Now for the elephant in the room, Kanto. I do want to make it clear that I consider this Nuzlocke finished. I beat the Elite Four and got to
Okay.
the credits. Everything from here
That's
is
completely
post-game.
fine.
However, wouldn't it be fun to see if we could beat Red with this team? I'll try to uphold as many Nuzlocke rules as I can for the spirit of it, except for the level cap. I'm already at
Oh
a
yeah,
higher
level
level than
cap's
many
done,
of Kanto's
pretty
gym
much.
leaders, so other than Red, I'll be ignoring that part. Let's head to Kanto. As nice as going to Kanto is, you have to admit that it feels less than last time. I like that you can tell time has passed and some gym leaders have moved on, changed their Pokemon, etc., but it's also more restrictive. Places such as the Safari Zone and the Fighting Dojo are closed, and due to the volcano erupting, Cinnabar is just a Pokemon Center on an island, with Blaine moved into a small cave in the Seafoam Islands. I understand why they put way more effort into Johto, but as I was just in Kanto recently, this version of it does stick out a bit. But from the practical side of things, it helps me out in that I can get through this a bit quicker as I was starting to run out of time on this. For the record, I caught next to no Pokemon during my time here.
Oh.
As stated, since I'm using the same team as I have been all along, there's now a bit of level gap between some of these gym leaders and myself. making these fights a bit uninteresting, so I'll be skimming through most of them.
Okay.
For example, our first fight is against Lieutenant Surge, and Taco Bell just one-shot the entire team with Earthquake.
Yep.
I don't think rich commentary is needed here. How about the next one? For Sabrina, I spammed Bite with LJS against her Espeon and Mr. Mime, but for her Alakazam, I swapped to Firehouse to see if I could get maybe a burn on it with Fire Punch, but she does little damage and takes way more from a Psychic.
It's really scary.
I swapped to Popeyes and same story, but at least Alakazam only has about a third of its health left now.
Oh, you're dead to crit here. Also, Slash would have been your best move.
To take advantage of its low special defense. This is what I should have done from the start, honestly, but oh well. Better late than never. We knock him out on the second strength. Since Koga is now a part of the Elite Four, his daughter Janine runs the Fuchsia
Level
City
36,
gym.
dude. Oh my god. Dude, these gym leaders are so whack.
She was not prepared. With Chipotle, we one-shot her entire team with psychic moves. I'll soon have a rivalry with this entire family. As if we haven't caused enough damage, we interrupt Misty's date by Bill's cottage so she'll battle us. Though to be fair, she seems more interested in the gym challenge than by what's-his-face anyway. Using Firehouse, we use Thunder Punch on our Pokemon with an Ice Punch just for Quagsire before moving on.
Nice.
For Erica, I dust off Tim Horton's Pokeball and flame wheel her whole team into a crisp. Next.
Yep.
At Brock, I did what you'd expect and drowned his team with Surfs from LJS. Though I didn't realize that Surf was still super effective against the fossil Pokemon, so I wasted time on Omastar using Dragon Breath. I sought out Blaine in his little cave, but of course LJS took care of his team as well.
Yep.
The solution's so nice that it worked
Easy.
Twice. But of course we still have one more gym to go. Without Giovanni running it, Blue has taken charge of it and actually has a diverse team to use against us. Before that, however, something crazy happened. I ventured into Mount Loon and ran into my rival. I had no idea he was here. I honestly thought we had seen the last of him back on Victory Road. He talks about how after his loss to us there, that he had given
you don't have your full team. Well, this is really scary, actually.
Oh,
you picked up leftovers? Let's go!
At least he caught us to full health. Taco Bell was in the front, and was luckily able to one-shot his Sneasel with an Earthquake. But for Alligator and Golbat, I fell back on Thunder Punch from Firehouse. They did deal some damage, but because she held leftovers I found in the trash, she was able to gain most of her health back. We one-shot the Magneton with the Fire Punch, but not before getting paralyzed. Next was Gengar, and I switched to LJS, who gets mean-looked immediately. But with a 13 level advantage, I'm not too worried. A single bite takes him into the red, and that's when he uses Confuse Ray. Still, no big deal. I only need to land one more attack. Except it turns out to be a very big deal. I proceed to hit myself in confusion the next 3 turns in a row, and Gengar is now spamming
This is my
Shadow
luck with
Ball.
confusion.
By the end of that third turn, I only have 24 HP left, and I just have to hope that he lands his next attack. There's nothing I can do. Nothing he's holding can help him, nor can I switch. But after that horrible flinching luck earlier, there's no way I'd also have terrible confusion luck, right? Wrong. On the 4th turn of hitting himself, he knocks himself out. What a disaster. There goes my only dark move and dragon moves. How did this happen? To wrap this up, Popeyes finishes off the Gengar with a Thunder Punch and takes down the Alakazam with one Slash, proving that yes, I should have done this with Sabrina's.
Yep, there.
We beat the rival for the final time.
This is why I hate confusion. Oh my god, dude. There's no in between. You get lucky or you get unlucky. You can be either super lucky and not hit yourself 3 times in a row, or you can get unlucky and hit yourself 4 times in a row. I swear, there's like this like superstition for me, where it's just like if you get confused, it's like an 80% chance that you hit yourself, and 20% chance that you don't. I hate confusion so much. I despise it. I despise it so much. It's similar with paralysis as well. But yeah, unlucky that you lost your Gyarados there. So, what could you have done differently? I think what you could have done is you could have actually gone to Graveler and try hitting Gengar there. I'm noticing like a little thing where it's just like you seem to... I feel like you're taking Levitate into account when it actually doesn't exist, or you're just fearful of like any special attacks, which you probably shouldn't in my opinion, because Gengar's like typing is really poor for it, because its types are both physical, not special. So yeah.
But I lost LJS. He heads for the box and I'm at a loss. I don't really have time to train a whole new member, nor do I really want to. This was the dream team. Maybe not the most balanced, but we made it work. Can I go against Red with only 5 Pokemon? 6 if you include Zaxby's finally getting some recognition. But before that, Blue.
Yeah,
I
you have
find him this
Blue.
Lego-themed gym, and as you can imagine, he puts up the biggest fight out of all the Kanto gym leaders.
Oh boy.
First is his Pidgeot, but we quickly handle him in 2 Thunder Punches. An Ice Punch to his Alakazam does only about a third, but a Psychic
That
Rain
is
crits us,
scary.
leaving us with 38 HP. I swear, if I lost Firehouse too, I might have just given up right there. Looking to outspeed him, I switched to Timhoran. A Psychic does about half health to us, but a Flame Wheel is able to
I feel like you
finish
should
it
have
off.
swapped to
I
Slowbro
ride on,
for
I
the
switch to
Alakazam.
Pole, who takes him out in 1 surf. Executor is next, and I send out Popeyes who
Nice
knocks him
crit.
off the Fire Punch, as well as his own
Carrot
Gyarados
off.
and 2 Thunder Punches. His Arcanine is last, and I switch to Chipotle.
Oh,
He
God.
must deal with 2 extreme
Okay.
speeds before finally getting in the battle-ending Surf. We've beaten down 2
Nice.
rivals, collected 16 badges, and defeated the Elite Four. All that's left is Red. To be honest, I never thought we could beat him to begin with. Challenging him was just supposed to be for fun, and as such, I only did a bit more grinding, just to level 60. If winning
Okay.
the Nuzlocke depended on this, I'd go for that level cap, but, you know, let's just see how it goes. First, of course,
you
is
lead
his
with
signature
Grappler here?
Pikachu, and despite the 20
Nice.
level gap, Taco Bell is still able to one-shot it with an Earthquake. Pikachu is just really bad, isn't it?
Pikachu is not
Chipotle goes
busted
out to
in this
meet Red's
game.
Espeon and resists Psychic, and we use Surf. Obviously, our own Psychic moves won't do much good, and with Espeon throwing up a Reflect, Strength won't do much for us either. Our second Surf
Ooh,
crits,
nice
which
crit.
knocks him
That's
out.
huge.
Next is Snorlax, and this was one of his Pokemon that I felt least confident about going against.
Oh
I go
boy.
for Earthquake, but it does very little damage. Way less than I was expecting, despite the level gap. But Body Slam does about the same to me, so I decided to go for a Rollout. On the 4th
The
turn
only
of
problem
rollout,
is you're
we were able to
locking
take him
yourself into
down, but by
rollout.
then the Body Slams have chipped us down to about only 23 HP. Venusaur is next and charges up for a Solar Beam. Since there's another turn of rollout to go, I'm locked into
Okay.
the action, but that turns out to be just what we needed. It actually knocks him out. At
Ooh,
this
that's
point, I'm beginning to
huge.
feel cautiously optimistic, but then out comes Blastoise. With Rollout expended, I'm able to switch to Firehouse. Surf takes away almost half health, and his Whirlpool misses. For a turtle, he's pretty fast. I get in my Thunder Punch, but it's going to take another 2 or 3 to do the job, and I don't think we have that much time. Especially since he next uses
This is
Rain
really
Dance.
scary.
Another Thunder Punch and he's in the yellow, but another Surf from him.
You were
puts him
dead
at 5
if you didn't have
HP.
leftovers.
If
Oh
we
my
didn't have
gosh.
leftovers, she wouldn't have lasted this long to
Oh,
get
yeah, there
one
you go.
more Thunder Punch. That leaves him with very little health left. I
Oh
switch
my
to
god,
Popeyes
that does
with the
so
intent of
much.
using a Slash. Unfortunately, he's able to surf twice, which he doesn't survive. I ran
Okay.
Chipotle to resist the water, but her health is too low from earlier and she doesn't make it. Rain Dance
Unfortunate.
ends as Firehouse makes a reappearance, but it's not enough and she faints as well. Maybe Tim Horn can outspeed it?
This,
Turns out
nah.
he does, and Dig stops the Blastoise from carving even
Oh
more holes
my
into its
god.
teeth. His last Pokemon is Charizard, but I don't have much to work with. I foolishly use Dig, which of course doesn't work.
Yeah,
I
that
also
doesn't
try
work.
Flamethrower, which does a little, and Quick Attack, which does even less. Charizard, meanwhile, knocks me out after several wing attacks. Taco Bell limps onto the field as our last stand, but it's no good. We lose. So that's that. The adventure ends here.
You hate to see it.
The great trainer from Johto defeated by Kanto's best. It was just meant to be, I guess. In this timeline. But what would have happened if Long John Silvers had survived against that Gengar in Mount Moon? What would have happened in that timeline? Let's find out.
Okay.
I resurrect him and head straight back to Red.
Let's see what
I don't even
happens.
level him up to level 60 like the others. I'm going to try again. Once again, I one-shot Pikachu with an Earthquake, and wail on Espeon with Surf until it faints, though this time Chipotle only had 12 HP left by the end, cutting it pretty close. Speaking of close, so was the fight with Snorlax. I throw in Taco Bell, of course, who takes very little damage to Body Slam, but gets
Ooh.
paralyzed this time in the process. Despite that, I
Unfortunate.
go for the rollout since I know it works. And Taco Bell, like the champ he's been all along,
I still think it's
does
a
not get stomach paralysis and is
yikes
able
to
to
get
actually
rolled
knock
out.
out the Snorlax on the 4th turn of rollout, just like last time, though he only has 4 HP left himself. A 5th turn paralysis free is granted, and Venusaur is again one-shot by that maximum strength rollout. This has basically
Jeez.
gone almost exactly the same as last time, but what about Blastoise? With how much he used Surf last time, I throw in LJS to see what happens. I go for a flinch with Bite, which works, but he takes very little damage.
So, something you could have done for this, like, fight here, like, let's go back really quick. What you could have done is you could have sacrificed your Graveler because you know it's too low in HP to, like, take any other attack. So, like, I would say, like, just sacrifice it so you can get a clean switch into whatever, like, other Pokemon that you want. In this case, I actually probably would have swapped into Slowbro. So, I don't know. That's just a little suggestion.
It was last time, but what about Blastoise? With how much he used Surf last time, I throw in LJS to see what happens. I go for a flinch with Bite, which works, but he takes very little damage.
Yep.
I next try
You have to
Dragon Breath and it
transfer the
does
para.
even less. Blastoise uses Blizzard, something he hadn't used before, and brings us below half. Maybe I should have just saved him for Charizard. I call him back and bring out Firehouse. A Blizzard takes about a third before leftovers, so I'm thinking I can get in maybe a few Thunder Punches. But no.
You gotta play around the
He gets
crits.
a crit Surf and knocks her out. Not great. Popeyes is up, and a Slash brings him into the yellow. But Blastoise's next Surf is buffed by Rain Dance, almost one-shotting Popeyes. A Thunder Punch from her takes him down. We've once again made it to Charizard. Unfortunately, Popeyes is picked off with a wing
This is
attack right
sack.
out the gate.
Good sack.
Wishing he had more health, I try LJS, who almost fades to a single wing attack himself, but he hangs on with 20 HP and gets in a Surf.
Alright, so now you got that chip damage.
This is the breakthrough we need. I send out Chipotle in case that Quick Claw wants to work, but sadly it doesn't. However,
Unfortunate.
I still have one Pokemon at full health, Tim Horton. I use Quick Attack here, a move that I tend to hang on to as long as possible for times like now,
Isn't
where I
gonna
really
use
need to
a
go
max
first.
potion?
It doesn't do much damage, of course, but then again, Charizard doesn't have much health left either.
Oh,
Wing
it doesn't.
Attack takes a modest chunk of our HP, and another Quick Attack leaves Charizard with a sliver. A crit Wing Attack could end it, but it doesn't, and we're able to get that final Quick Attack and defeat Red.
This was a good video. There are obviously some plays that you could have definitely improved on. There's some pretty pro gamer strats that you also did, such as like using the Paralysis Cure Berry on some of your Pokemon to play around Paralysis. Super respectable that you didn't do the Kanto Nuzlocke either, mostly because like doing Kanto I know is pretty much a nightmare, especially if you're going till red, because grinding for red is just not fun. So yeah, all in all, pretty good video. Surprisingly, I wasn't introduced to like any of the creators that you talked about before. I just saw this in my recommended. I was just like, okay, like I'll just take a view at it. I was like, this is a really cool video. So yeah. Alright, but like I said, in general, there are a lot of things that you definitely could have improved on, but you do hold some promise for being a good Pokemon runner. So, yeah, thank you guys for watching, and check out the original video, check out this person's channel, and check out my channel, because like we also do some hardcore Nuzlocks. Because yeah, we find those fun for some reason. It's some sort of masochist wet dream, because I don't know how else to fulfill my weirdest desires. So okay, alright, I'll see you guys later. Take care for now. Bye bye.